all things sweet potato. Welcome back to At the Table. Today we are talking all about North Carolina's vegetable, which is the sweet potato. Sweet potato we get it all year round pretty much, but we tend to eat sweet potato one way, right? We eat a lot of sweet potatoes baked in the oven, maybe you have mashed sweet potatoes, and that's pretty much it. So today we are actually going to be doing 3 different recipes featuring sweet potatoes that will all be different styles, different flavor profiles, and just a way to use up this very affordable, very accessible vegetable that we have, but it's also in a way that they're all different. So it's going to be a little bit different every time you eat it. So we're going to start off with sweet potato fries. Now to do this, you need to make sure you have a very sharp knife, and then you have a nice sturdy cutting board as well. So to start with, I'm actually going to cut this guy, and this is going to be a very tough thing to cut into. I'm actually going to cut this guy in half. So this is a little bit longer than what I would typically aim for, but I'm going to cut him completely in half, and then we will cut it the other way as well. So this way you have a nice sturdy surface to work with. It's not going to be rocking the whole way. Now sweet potatoes can be in all shapes and sizes, so they can be a little bit more intense in terms of trying to figure out how to cut them properly. If you aim for cutting it in half first, that will definitely help you to have more control over that vegetable. All right, so we want these to be about 1/4 inch thick. So once you get it in half, you're gonna cut it into a little bit smaller of pieces. And we're only gonna do this with 2 sweet potatoes. So you could do 2 to 3. These are pretty average size. They were not quite as big as some of the others. So I'm gonna cut them long ways in half and then long ways as well. Then we'll do the other side also. Now we're making these in the air fryer today, and you could absolutely do these in your oven if you prefer to go that route. I enjoy them in the oven as well, but I thought we'd try something a little bit different today. We have not used our air fryer yet, and I love the air fryer. It is such an easy appliance to use, and it just crisps things up so well, and especially something like fries, we want those to be nice and crispy. All right, so we're just continuing to cut these 1/4 inch all the way around. And this is actually a spicy sweet potato fry recipe, but you could absolutely do more of a sweet savory. You could also just do salt and pepper. It does not have to be exactly what we're doing here. So you have several different options in terms of the different flavors for these. All right. So if you're curious about what 1/4 inch is, it's pretty much like this. So a little bit smaller, but you want them to be consistent. So just try to make sure, even if you're not quite to 1/4 inch, that it's a consistent size all the way around. Okay, and then we are going to add our spices. So we have a little bit of olive oil. So we just need about a tablespoon of this. I'm just gonna kind of sprinkle it. And then I like to use a big bag just because I feel like when I use a bag, I can shake it up really well and it works really nicely in terms of kind taking care of all of that, coating everything, and it's just an easy thing to clean up afterwards as well. So we've got garlic powder. We're gonna do 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. If I can get this open. Well, I'm just gonna shake it on here. So teaspoon, just kind of eyeballing it. We're gonna make it work, however. And then this is only half a teaspoon, so not quite as much. This comes out a little bit slower anyways. This is coriander, which can be a little bit spicy. And then we also have ginger, just a half a teaspoon of this, and a little bit of salt. And that is it. So 1/4 teaspoon of salt, not a whole lot, and you can also salt them afterwards if you need a little bit more. Now leave a little bit of air in the bag, and then you're gonna shake it up. So you just want these to be coated really well, have enough seasoning all throughout. And then what we're gonna do that looks pretty good. If you feel like they still look a little dry, you could add some more oil as needed. We're gonna open our air fryer. Now you could preheat your air fryer if you choose, and that will just kind of have it set and ready to go. We're just gonna dump this in. If you're doing this in the oven, you wanna make sure that you kind of leave enough room for space. We're gonna shake these throughout. So halfway through, we'll come over and we'll shake these, and then we're gonna throw it in. Our air fryer comes on, and you're just gonna press the big power button, turn it to 400 degrees, and then we're gonna do it for 18 minutes. And halfway through, we'll come over, we'll shake it, and put it back in. And it's started, it's going. We'll see you guys back in just a second. We'll get started on our other recipes.
Introducing the Star Communications app. All the tools you need in one convenient location. You can access Watch TV everywhere. Check local channel lineup. Check your Star email. View and pay your Star bill. Report troubles. Use your Star security app. Check your home voicemail. Sign up for Crowd Fiber. Check your Wi-Fi speed. The list keeps going and going. Download for free from the App Store or Google Play.
All right, so we've got our French fries, our sweet potato fries in the air fryer over there. We're gonna move on to a salad. Now this is a salad that I've made with our health and wellness coordinator at the Center for Health and Wellness with the hospital. And Robin has made this multiple times, but it was my first time having sweet potato in a salad, and it was so good. So I wanted to show you guys this one because it's one of my all-time favorite salad recipes. And I'm very picky with salad because I want it to have a lot of different textures and flavors throughout. I don't like just a basic salad with cheese and tomatoes and croutons. I want it to have a lot going on, and this one does. So what we start off with is just our kale. And I am not a huge kale person, but I love it when you put a little bit of olive oil on it and then massage it throughout and just let it sit for a minute or two. And it'll start to kind of break down that kale a little bit, make it softer to more of a texture of spinach. When kale is fresh, it is a little bit more rough and it has almost more of a bitter flavor. So when you add a little bit of that olive oil to soften it up, it completely changes the flavor and the texture of the kale. So make sure you add just a little bit of olive oil, massage it through, and then it'll look a little bit lighter and have a different texture and all throughout. So we've already done that. The next thing we're gonna do is we are gonna add chickpeas or garbanzo beans. They're the same thing, so you might see them written 2 different ways, or it might say the same thing on the can. And this is about half a cup, so we've rinsed those. You can remove 30% of that sodium in the can if you cannot find salt-free. So add some beans in there. You can use any beans that you like, but I think the chickpeas really give this a good flavor. All right, so next up we have our sweet potato. And I have already cooked this, so this would be great if you have a leftover sweet potato that you want to use and you really don't want it as it is. We are going to remove the skin, so I'm going to cut this in half, and we'll just take that entire skin off. You could keep that on if you prefer. I just think that it kind of messes with the flavors in our salad. So you get that nice, beautiful orange color. I made these in the air fryer before we got started, and it just was so easy. I did it for, I believe it was 15 to 20 minutes on 400 degrees. So the air fryer is a really great tool for lots of things. You could also just bake these in the oven and have them left over. But we are just gonna dice this up. Blends in with my cutting board here. And just like our other orange vegetables, we know that our orange veggies have lots of that beta carotene, which is what gives it that beautiful orange color. And that is what is good for our eyes and our brain health as well. So we're just gonna throw these. Might just kind of arrange it here on the side. We're using that whole sweet potato. All right. And then next up we have a little bit of slivered almonds. So you could use any nut that you have on hand. Almonds was just something that was easy for me to toss in this. The recipe we originally had used cashews. So I think any type of nut that you enjoy would be really good in this. So we're just gonna add about a half of a cup of any kind of nuts that you enjoy. We also have some feta cheese. Now feta cheese is really light. It has more of that creamy texture. I think goat cheese would also be really great in this recipe. You just want to look for that reduced fat option just because it will be lower in saturated fat, and it can help you to kind of reduce that throughout the day. So we are using a quarter cup of this, which is pretty much the rest of this container. So I'm just going to dump all of that in there. And then our last ingredient is, you could either use shallots or you could use red onion. Red onion is what I have on hand. We're also going to use it for one of the toppings of our other recipe, which is stuffed sweet potatoes. So we always cut the top off, and then we cut it in the middle. I've already taken off the exterior and given it a little bit of a rinse. That will kind of help to remove anything on the outside, and it also is supposed to help you not cry. I still cry every single time. So I'm just gonna chop this up into little bitty pieces, just dicing that red onion. And we're only using about a quarter of a cup of this onion. So I'll finish cutting this up, and then we're gonna see you guys back in just a minute.
Sweetie, will you turn that down, please?
Keep life exciting, even when it's not. Watch TV everywhere from Star Communications.
All right, so we've got all of our ingredients in our salad, so it looks really pretty. You can see all the colors and just different textures that are going on here. So the last thing that we're gonna do is add our dressing. And this is just a simple homemade dressing. It's just olive oil, red wine vinegar, any type of vinegar that you may have, garlic, and then your seasoning of choice. I think we just did salt and pepper in this one. Very simple. You put it in a little mason jar and shake it up. And then we're just gonna pour just a little bit on our salad here. And then you just toss it all together and it is ready to go. So very tasty, very easy, and it just is such a good, delicious, healthy salad for you, but it has really different flavor than probably what you're used to with some of your salads. So that is all done. So the next thing that we are gonna be making is stuffed sweet potatoes. So this gives your sweet potato just a completely different profile, flavor profile. It's a way to kind of revamp them. You can make it be kind of a one pot, a one thing dish to where you have everything all in that sweet potato and you eat it all together. So we have two different flavors we're gonna do. One is gonna be a barbecue chicken sweet potato. And then the second one is just gonna be more of a chipotle black bean, vegetarian, and it's got some cheese and things like that. So We're gonna get started with our Chipotle black beans. So I've got some black beans on the oven here. 1 can of black beans, you do keep half of that liquid in the black beans and then just pour it in a pot. And so we're gonna turn this on and just let it come to a boil. And then we're also gonna be adding a Chipotle adobo pepper. Now, we have used these in the past. They are very, very hot. They look hot, they smell hot, they're spicy. So we're just using one of those. You need about half a tablespoon to a tablespoon, so that will be plenty for us. You can freeze these if you would like. I actually need to freeze the rest of these because I don't use them a whole lot. But they give the black beans such a good flavor that is so different than what you typically get with your traditional black beans. So we are just gonna cut this up because you also don't want a big chunk. I mean, if you could pull this out if you wanted to, pull it out of your black beans so that it would just give it some spice but not be quite as hot as if you bit into those seeds. But you can see, you know, how many seeds are in there. It's gonna give it some pretty good flavor, some pretty good heat. So we're just gonna do that and then throw this in with our black beans. Just like a jalapeno, be careful as you're handling these. Don't touch your eyes afterwards. Don't touch your face. Really want to avoid a lot of that anyways, but just be more mindful now that you have touched those hot peppers. All right, so we've got that. We've got our pan on over here, our stovetop on, and we're gonna let that come to a boil and just get heated all the way through. And then we'll let it simmer too for just 5 minutes after it's came to a boil. So very simple, very easy, not a whole lot that goes into the Chipotle black beans, but it gives it a totally different flavor. So the next thing that we're gonna be adding to our Chipotle black bean sweet potato is some roasted red peppers. Now, if you're not familiar with these, they are in the pickled section, buy the pickles and all the pickled things. So they do come in smaller pieces, but these were the only ones they had available at my grocery store. It's literally a whole red pepper that they have roasted and then preserved in a jar. Probably won't need this whole thing, but we are gonna cut it up into smaller pieces so that we can top our sweet potato with this. And the roasting, you could make your own roasted peppers. It gives it really good flavor. It sweetens them up. So I definitely recommend if you enjoy peppers, try roasting them yourself, and then you can just kind of have them on hand to add to stuff as needed. So we're chopping those up, and that's pretty much everything. Once our black beans are done, we will get those all loaded into our potato and then add our other toppings. The last thing that we are actually gonna do before we kind of go off for a moment is our avocado. So I just take this and kind of rotate the avocado all the way around, and then you're gonna twist it, pop it right open, looks beautiful. Love it when you get that satisfaction of popping it open and it just is so pretty inside. So I like to use the back of the knife, and then I go in gently. Ideally, you'd use a smaller knife, and I have one sitting next to me. This is in my hand. So just gonna use half of that and scoop it out. You can use a spoon or a fork, whatever you have available. And we will use that also. All right, so once our beans are done, we will see you back in just a minute, and we'll be loading up these sweet potatoes so that they're all complete.
After completing my contract, I still have to buy out of it? Come on. Here's your sign.
Switch to the sign that's keeping home secure and customers happy all over the area. Security from Star Communications. We pride ourselves on fair pricing and quick, friendly service every time.
Somebody try to break into this place?
Security from Star Communications.
All right, so our beans are done, and I went ahead and we've got our parsley also chopped up. Our potato here, I went ahead and cut it in half, and then what you do is you just take your fork and kind of move that around a little bit so that you have more of a nice little divot or hole to work with. And that way you can stuff it properly. So think of this as kind of like your base. So think of it as if you had rice as your base or your rice as your carb, and then you add all of the things on top. Similar concept here. So kind of imagine it in that way. So one of them, we are gonna do that barbecue chicken. So I've just got some regular rotisserie chicken. I added a little bit of barbecue sauce and just kind of moved it all around. So we are just gonna stuff that into our sweet potato. You want about 3 ounces, so just stuff it really good. And we won't use quite all of this. And then we are also going to add just a little bit of red onion, just for pretty color. And then we're gonna add just a little bit of mozzarella cheese. And then we're actually gonna throw this guy into the air fryer just so that it can heat up a little bit. We'll make our other sweet potato first and then we'll go do that. So our next one is gonna have beans. So this is kind of like our protein here, whereas the chicken was our protein in the other one. So we've got those spicy chipotle black beans. It smells so good. And then we've got our red pepper, roasted red pepper. You could cut this, I might do the smaller pieces. So you could cut this into even smaller based on whatever you prefer. We're gonna add a little bit of avocado in there. And some parsley. Let's give it some nice color. I'll put a little parsley on our other one too. Sticking to my fingers from the avocado. There we go. And then the last thing we're gonna put in our chipotle one is feta cheese. Now you could also add a little bit of sour cream. I have some Greek yogurt over here, so we could add that on top. Since we're adding feta, I'm just gonna skip on the extra cream and we'll eat it like that. So it looks beautiful, very tasty, and ready to be eaten. So then next we're gonna take this over to our air fryer over here, and our sweet potato fries are completely done. I did toss them with a little bit more seasoning and threw them back into the air fryer just for a little bit longer. And that only needs a minute. I'm just gonna go ahead and start it and we'll pull it out when it's done. So these I did add just a little bit more seasoning, and the last thing I did also add was some chili powder. I felt like it would be really good if we could add just a little bit more flavor in there, a little bit more spice. The original recipe calls for half olive oil, so half a tablespoon of olive oil, half a tablespoon of chili oil, which is gonna be more spicy. I did not have chili oil on hand, so we just went with the regular route and did more olive oil and added a little bit of extra spice. Now, some other flavor combinations you could do cinnamon in this. It would be really tasty. You could add cinnamon, salt, pepper, nutmeg if you wanted, and that would give it more of that sweet potato fries that you might have had before. You can also just go very plain. Olive oil, salt, and pepper. And then there's a couple different dips that you could make with this. So a lot of times at restaurants and things, they will have like a cinnamon butter that's really tasty with it. But a lot of times you have sugar added with that. So it's like a cinnamon sugar with butter. So lots of things that you can do, different ways you can eat these, and also the option to cook them in the oven if you have that instead. All right, this has been in there for a minute. It might not be quite melted through, but I think that should be good enough. Let's see if our time will go down one more. That's all right. All right, so you can see the cheese has kind of started to melt. It is gonna melt a little bit further. So, we'll stick it back into the air fryer just for another minute. But I hope that you guys try these at home. These were very simple recipes. We've got a salad that's really tasty. We've got some beautiful sweet potatoes that are stuffed with different things. So you could even make this a meal to where your family each makes their own type of stuffed sweet potato, whatever they're feeling, whatever flair they want to add to theirs. You could do buffalo chicken instead. So lots of different things to do there. And then we've got those sweet potato fries, which are so yummy. So I hope you enjoyed our state vegetable, and we will see you guys back next time. Have a great day.